A royal storm has erupted inside the walls of Buckingham Palace, and it's shaking the very heart of British politics. King Charles, known for his measured calm, has unleashed a blistering condemnation aimed squarely at Keir Starmer. The message is clear, brutal, and unprecedented. Step down now. What could have provoked such fury from the throne itself? The political landscape just exploded and no one saw it coming. Behind closed doors, a confrontation unfolded that threatens to upend the balance of power in Britain. King Charles, traditionally cautious and distant from political controversy, has reportedly reached his breaking point with Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Sources close to the palace reveal an extraordinary private meeting where the monarch didn't mince words. The king's voice, usually calm and deliberate, was laced with frustration and urgency. The demand was chillingly direct. Step down now. This explosive royal directive comes amid mounting political chaos. Starmer's leadership, already under siege from multiple scandals and internal party strife, now faces an unexpected challenge from the Crown itself. The King's intervention marks a rare and dramatic escalation in a crisis that has been simmering for months. The question now isn't just about Starmer's future, it's about the very stability of the government. For decades, the British monarchy has maintained a delicate balance respecting the political process while quietly influencing behind the scenes. But King Charles's public break with tradition signals a deeper crisis. Whispers around Westminster speak of mounting royal frustration over Starmer's handling of national issues, his perceived inability to unify the country, and his failure to uphold certain values the monarchy holds dear. The King's demand is more than just a personal rebuke, it's a royal ultimatum. Inside Downing Street, panic is spreading. Advisors scramble to manage the fallout as the news leaks, and loyalists fear the fallout could be catastrophic. Some insiders claim this royal explosion has triggered emergency meetings and frantic calls to key political players trying to contain the damage. Starmer's camp remains silent, but behind the scenes, damage control is in full force. The leader, who once promised renewal and strength, now faces his most daunting challenge, losing the support of the very institution that symbolises Britain's unity. The implications of King Charles's declaration stretch far beyond the palace walls. It raises urgent questions about the relationship between the monarchy and elected officials in a time of growing political instability. What does it mean when a monarch steps so forcefully into political discourse? And how will Starmer respond to this unprecedented call for his resignation? This is more than just a power struggle. It's a moment that could redefine the monarchy's role in modern Britain. The King's explosive message has sent shockwaves through the media, political circles, and the public. The stage is set for a dramatic showdown that will capture the nation's attention and shape the future of British leadership. Stay with us as we delve deeper into the events that led to this royal eruption, the political fallout unfolding right now, and what it means for the future of the UK. The origins of this royal explosion can be traced back to months of mounting tensions between King Charles and Keir Starmer's government. While the monarchy traditionally stays clear of public political disputes, insiders suggest that Charles has quietly voiced his dissatisfaction multiple times behind the scenes. But what pushed the king to finally break his silence and issue a stark public warning? It appears that a series of political missteps by Starmer has eroded whatever patience the king once had. Starmer's handling of major national crises, from economic instability and soaring inflation to the ongoing energy crisis, has failed to inspire confidence both among the public and within the palace. The king, deeply concerned about the well-being of the nation, reportedly expressed frustration over what he sees as Starmer's inability to provide clear leadership in turbulent times. Adding fuel to the fire are recent scandals engulfing Starmer's party. Internal divisions have exploded into the open, with allegations of corruption, mismanagement, and factional infighting dominating headlines. These controversies have not only weakened Starmer's political standing, but have also cast a shadow over the integrity of the government. For King Charles, whose own reputation has been built on dignity and service, these developments represent a threat to the nation's stability and the monarchy's image. The monarch's intervention also reflects a broader concern about the country's direction. Charles has long been known for his advocacy on issues such as environmental sustainability and social justice, causes that he feels are not being adequately addressed by the current administration. Starmer's policies, perceived by the king as lacking conviction and clarity, have widened the gulf between the crown and government. Sources close to the palace describe the moment of confrontation as tense and emotional. In the private meeting, Charles is said to have laid bare his worries, warning Starmer that his leadership risks plunging the nation into deeper uncertainty. The king's words were not veiled in diplomacy, they were an urgent call for change. "Step down now!" the monarch reportedly demanded, signalling that the time for patience had run out. For a Starmer, this royal ultimatum is a political earthquake. The Prime Minister, who has weathered numerous storms, now faces an adversary few have dared to challenge publicly: the crown itself. The challenge is not just about power, it is about legitimacy and trust. If the monarch, a figurehead meant to unify the nation, openly questions his leadership, Starmer's position becomes precarious beyond repair. Political analysts warn that this royal intervention could have profound consequences for the UK's constitutional framework. While the monarchy traditionally maintains a neutral stance, this unprecedented move by King Charles forces a re-examination of the Crown's role in political affairs. Will this mark a shift toward a more active monarchy, or is it a one-time outburst born of desperation? The response from political figures has been cautious but revealing. Some opposition leaders have quietly welcomed the King's stance, seeing it as validation of their own criticisms of Starmer. Meanwhile, members of Starmer's party are split between calls for calm and demands for immediate action. The palace's rare political statement has ignited fierce debates about loyalty, leadership, and the future of the nation. Public reaction has been equally charged. Social media platforms are ablaze with speculation and outrage. With opinions sharply divided, some citizens express shock and disbelief that the monarch would intervene so directly, while others voice relief that someone is finally holding the government accountable. The royal message has become the defining political moment of the year, one that will dominate conversations in homes, workplaces and Parliament. In Downing Street, the pressure is mounting. Starmer's advisors are reportedly working around the clock to formulate a response that can contain the crisis without further alienating the king or the public. The stakes are high. Failure to address the royal demand could lead to an unprecedented political crisis, while acquiescing would mean the end of Starmer's premiership. This royal explosion is not just a headline, it's a turning point. As Britain grapples with this extraordinary challenge, the world watches closely. The King's call for Starmer to step down has shattered the political calm and opened a new chapter of uncertainty and intrigue. What happens next will define the legacy of both the monarch and the Prime Minister, and possibly the future of the British monarchy itself. Stay tuned as we continue to unravel the story behind this historic confrontation and what it means for the fate of a nation on edge. The impact of King Charles's fiery rebuke is sending shockwaves through every corner of British politics. In Westminster, the usually composed atmosphere has been replaced by a palpable tension as MPs and ministers scramble to process the enormity of the situation. For decades, the monarchy has been the bedrock of stability, a symbol of continuity above the political fray. But now, with the King's unprecedented call for Starmer to resign, the very foundations of that tradition are shaking. Inside Parliament, the atmosphere is electric with uncertainty. Starmer's rivals sense an opportunity, some quietly urging the Prime Minister to heed the royal warning before it's too late. But many within his own party are desperate to contain the fallout. The Labour leadership is fractured, half pleading for Starmer to stand firm, the other half whispering about the inevitability of his exit. The King's intervention has exacerbated already simmering tensions, sparking heated debates behind closed doors about the future direction of the party. At the same time, the government is facing a crisis of credibility. Starmer's authority, once seen as unassailable, is now openly questioned, not just by political opponents, but by the Crown itself. This fracture at the top threatens to weaken the UK's ability to govern effectively just when the country faces some of its most daunting challenges in decades. From the spiralling cost of living to strained relations with key allies, the government's grip on power appears dangerously fragile. But what exactly triggered this royal eruption at this precise moment? Experts point to a series of critical events in recent weeks that pushed King Charles beyond his limits. Among them is the controversial handling of the recent economic policy failures, which many view as lacking transparency and vision. There is also growing unease about Starmer's perceived inability to manage the party's internal divisions, which have spilled out into the public eye with damaging effect. Moreover, the King's concerns extend beyond politics to the moral fabric of the nation. The monarch, who has long championed causes such as community cohesion and environmental stewardship, reportedly fears that Starmer's leadership has failed to uphold these values. This perceived moral decline, coupled with political instability, is said to have catalysed the King's extraordinary call for change. Observers note that King Charles's approach is as much about protecting the monarchy's future as it is about current politics. The Crown's relevance depends heavily on public trust and its image as a unifying force. If the government falters under Starmer, it risks dragging the monarchy down with it. By demanding Starmer's resignation, Charles may be attempting to safeguard the institution's standing before it suffers irreparable damage. The reaction within Downing Street remains shrouded in secrecy, but leaks suggest a government on the defensive. Starmer's inner circle is reportedly divided between those urging a swift resignation to preserve dignity and others advocating for a fierce political fightback. Meanwhile, efforts to engage with the palace behind the scenes have intensified as both sides seek a way to de-escalate the crisis without public humiliation. Political commentators warn that this is a delicate moment for the UK's democracy. The King's direct involvement challenges the long-standing convention that the monarchy remains politically neutral. While the Crown retains constitutional powers largely symbolic in modern times, the symbolism matters deeply. A monarch publicly demanding a Prime Minister's resignation risks blurring the lines between constitutional monarchy and political activism, a shift with potentially profound consequences. As this political earthquake unfolds, public opinion is fractured. Some see King Charles's bold move as a necessary wake-up call, a reminder that leadership demands accountability at the highest levels. Others view it as an overreach, fearing that the monarchy is stepping dangerously into partisan politics. This division reflects the deep uncertainties gripping the nation as it navigates a period of unprecedented turmoil. Social media platforms are a battleground of opinions, with hashtags trending that both praise and condemn the King's stance. Public figures, pundits and citizens alike debate whether this royal intervention will restore order or plunge the country deeper into chaos. The debate is fierce, passionate and ongoing, mirroring the wider struggle playing out across political and social spheres. Amid this turmoil, one thing is clear: the relationship between King Charles and Keir Starmer has been irrevocably changed. What once was a respectful distance now feels like a chasm, with trust shattered and alliances tested. How this dynamic evolves in the coming days could determine not just the fate of one man, but the trajectory of the entire nation. The stage is set for a dramatic showdown. Will Starmer heed the royal demand and step down, or will he defy the king and fight to retain power? Either path promises upheaval, uncertainty, and consequences that will reverberate far beyond the halls of government. The nation holds its breath, caught between history and the unknown, as this royal explosion reshapes Britain's political future in ways few dared imagine. As the crisis deepens, whispers of behind-the-scenes power plays grow louder. Political insiders reveal a flurry of secret meetings, urgent phone calls and desperate negotiations taking place across the highest levels of government and the palace. The pressure cooker of British politics is reaching a boiling point, with every faction vying for influence amid the chaos unleashed by King Charles's explosive message. Starmer's position, once seemingly secure, is now under siege from all directions. His opponents within Parliament are emboldened by the King's unprecedented intervention, interpreting it as a signal that the time for his resignation has arrived. Some members of his own party are quietly shifting their loyalties, sensing that the winds of change are inevitable. The internal fracture lines are deepening, threatening to fracture Labour beyond repair. At the same time, the Conservative opposition is seizing the moment with ruthless precision. They have ramped up their attacks, framing the royal ultimatum as proof that the government is no longer fit to lead. Boris Johnson and other senior Tories have issued public statements calling for Starmer to acknowledge the monarchy's concerns and step aside, adding fuel to an already raging fire. The political battlefield is alive with accusations, counterattacks, and mounting hostility. But the royal explosion also highlights a more profound struggle, a clash between tradition and modernity, between the Crown's centuries-old influence and the evolving demands of a democratic society. King Charles's direct demand for Starmer's resignation raises fundamental questions about the limits of royal power and the place of the monarchy in contemporary politics. Legal experts and constitutional scholars are now weighing in on the implications of the King's actions. While the monarch retains certain constitutional prerogatives, their exercise in such a public and pointed manner is virtually unheard of in modern times. This extraordinary intervention challenges established norms and sets a dangerous precedent, blurring the line between ceremonial figurehead and political actor. Within the palace, the mood is reportedly proper and tense. Advisors to King Charles are working tirelessly to manage the fallout, aware that any misstep could provoke a constitutional crisis. The King himself is said to be deeply troubled by the unfolding situation, caught between his role as a symbol of unity and his urgent desire to protect the nation's future. Meanwhile, Starmer faces a dilemma unlike any other in his political career. To ignore the King's demand risks alienating the monarchy and losing the moral high ground. To comply could mean sacrificing his leadership and ambitions. His response in the coming hours will be crucial, with the potential to either stabilise or further destabilise the political landscape. The public's attention remains fixed on every development. News outlets and social media platforms are saturated with commentary, speculation, and reactions. The royal explosion has ignited a national conversation about leadership, loyalty, and the responsibilities of those who hold power. Citizens are grappling with conflicting emotions, fear, anger, hope, as the crisis unfolds in real time. This moment of upheaval exposes deeper fractures within British society itself. The monarchy, a centuries-old institution, stands at a crossroads. Will it adapt to the shifting political terrain, or will it reassert its influence in ways that challenge democratic conventions? The answer to this question could redefine Britain's identity in the years to come. As King Charles's message reverberates across the country, the sense of uncertainty grows. Political commentators warn that the coming days will be critical, with decisions made behind closed doors likely to shape the future of the government and the monarchy. The tension is palpable, the stakes higher than ever. What remains undeniable is that Britain is witnessing a moment few predicted, a royal intervention that could alter the course of its history. The King's demand for Starmer to step down now is more than a call for resignation. It is a dramatic declaration of the monarchy's willingness to assert its voice in the nation's most pressing political crisis. As the drama continues to unfold, all eyes turn to Downing Street and Buckingham Palace, waiting for answers that may not come easily. The coming hours and days will test the resilience of British democracy and the strength of its ancient institutions. In this royal explosion, the future of the UK hangs in the balance. As the nation watches with bated breath, the question on everyone's mind is clear: what will Keir Starmer do next? The royal demand has left him at a crossroads, a leader forced to weigh personal ambition against the will of the crown and the survival of his party. The pressure is relentless, the stakes unimaginable. In recent hours, Starmer has remained largely silent, his usual public appearances cancelled, and his closest allies tight-lipped. This silence speaks volumes. Behind the scenes, sources reveal a flurry of activity, strategists plotting a course to either defuse the crisis or prepare for a final stand. The Prime Minister faces an impossible choice: to bow to the King's command and resign, or to fight back against the unprecedented royal challenge. The consequences of either decision are vast. A resignation would trigger political chaos, forcing a leadership contest within Labour and plunging the country into uncertainty.